So synthetic division. Synthetic division this is a lesson that is not necessary because it does everything that long division does. Everything we do today, you could do using long division. The reason I include it is because most students like this version of division better than long division. Long division, you guys know how to do it. You guys have been doing it since elementary school, right? But it's long, right? We had 5 problems yesterday. And each problem takes so long, and there's little, I made a mistake here, I made a mistake there, little mistakes, right? Synthetic division is a lot shorter, a lot cleaner. It's not long. So it's just a version of division. So when I say the word synthetic, what does synthetic mean? Like I have synthetic grass in my backyard. What does that mean? But it works the same, right? Yeah, if you were to look at my yard from inside my house, you'd be like, oh, you have grass back there. But then you go look and it's like, oh, it looks fake. It is fake, right? There's reasons why you have fake grass, right? There's reasons why you have synthetic things, right? They function exactly the same, right? But it saves me money because I don't have to cut the grass. I don't have to water the grass, and it's always nice and green. That's why I like it, right? And I have synthetic grass that looks real. I don't have that, some of the synthetic grass looks cheap. Yeah, it looks like carpet, and I don't have that. Yeah, I have the nicer stuff that looks really nice, right? It functions as grass, but it's not. It's synthetic, right? Synthetic are things that are fake but function as real. That's what synthetic division is. It functions like this. This is what you guys did. This is what you guys did the last 2 days. Long division, right? We start with long division because that's the one you guys have been using since elementary school. It looks familiar, right? So these guys have names, right? The guy on the inside the house is called the dividend. The guy in front of the house is called the divisor. The guy on top of the house is called the quotient. Those are the names that go with them, right? So we're going to take those things and kind of move them around, okay? So it's going to look a little crazy at first, but trust me, once you start using it, most of you guys will be like, yeah, I prefer this method, okay? And the big thing is on the test next week, I don't care which method you use. If you like synthetic division, use synthetic division. If you like long division, you're like, nah, I prefer long division. Use it, okay? On the test, I'm not going to say you have to use this method, okay? All right, so let me explain it real quick. Let me explain it before I show you. So this is the setup. There's no more house. Well, there is a house, but it's a little house. What goes in there is the 0 of the divisor. Who's the divisor? The guy that was in front of the house yesterday. Okay, the guy that was in front of the house yesterday is the divisor. So we got to find the 0 of that. We'll talk about how to do that. What goes over here? The guys that went inside the house is called the dividend, right? That's what we're going to put here, except we're not going to put the whole thing. We're just going to put the coefficients. So remind me, what's a coefficient? Say it again. You're close. You're getting there. The ones in front of the letters. There you go. The numbers in front of the letters. So we're only putting the numbers in front of the letters here. And then we're going to do it. So the easiest way to do it is to see it. So I'm going to show you guys first. Okay, so let's go to example number 1. Okay. The first guy is the guy that would go in the house, right? Let me highlight this guy. This guy is the guy that would usually go in the house, right? If we were doing long division. And this guy is the guy that would go in front of the house if we were doing long division, right? And you can do long division. It would work for this problem. But I'm going to show you a different method. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find the 0 of the divisor. Okay, so let's go back. Which one is the divisor? The divisor is the one that went in front of the house. So which one is that? Is that the yellow or is that the green? The green, right? So this guy is the divisor. This guy is called the dividend. So the first thing I got to do is find the 0 of the green guy. So how do you find zeros? You've actually done this before. 0 means set it equal to 0 and solve. So I'm going to set the green guy equal to 0. What is x? It's going to be -2, right? How do I know that? This is how you do it, right? Some of you can do it in your head, right? You just solve it, yeah. You just solve it. Subtract 2 from both sides because it's +2, right? That is the 0. The 0 is not negative, or sorry, it's -2, sorry. It's -2. That guy is going to go in a little house right there. So that guy is going to go there. That's the first step. The second steps, now I'm going to go to the yellow guy, and I'm going to write down all of the coefficients. First thing I'm going to do is make sure they're all in order. So did the powers go, is there any powers missing? So does it start from the high power and go to the next power, go to the descending, right? There's no powers missing, right? 3, 2, 1, no power. There's not a power missing, so I'm okay there. Don't need a placeholder, just like we did yesterday a little bit. So now I need the coefficients. The numbers in front of all the letters. So let's start with x to the third power. What's in front of x to the third power? A 1, right? So I'm going to put a 1 here. Now go in front of x squared. What's in front of x squared that we don't write? Another 1. So I'm going to put another 1 there. What's the coefficient of -10x? -10. So I'm going to put a -10 there. And then what's -16 doesn't have a letter, so it's just -16. That's step 2. Step 3 is the process. Okay, so watch me do it before. Don't do it yet. Watch me do it first because I lose some people when I do this. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line there. So draw a line underneath. And then you're going to put an addition sign. The addition sign goes right there. Okay, so this is the process. The first guy, the first coefficient, always comes straight down. So the first guy always goes straight down. And then you start multiplying. Kind of like division, right? When we multiply, you multiply. What do you multiply? I multiply 1 times -2. So what is 1 times -2? So I'm going to put that number right there. And then what am I going to do? Well, it says addition, right? So you're going to add. What's 1 plus -2? -1. Put -1 there. Do it again. Now I have a -1, right? What's -1 times -2? +2. Put that here. Then what are you going to do straight down? Yeah, add it again, right? -10 plus 2? -8. Keep doing it until you're done. -8 times -2. Add straight down. What do I get when I add straight down? 0. That was synthetic division. That's step 3. That's the division process. Not too bad, right? One more step we got to do. Put all the letters back, right? I took all the letters out, right? Where's x cubed? Where's x squared? Where's x? Where are those guys? I took them out. I got to put them back in. Okay? So before I do that, though, the last guy down here is the remainder. That's always going to be the remainder. So in this case, I got a remainder of 0. So that last guy, I usually put in a box as well because that's always going to be the remainder. Whatever number that is, whatever value that is, that's the remainder. Okay? So now we got to put the x's back in. So how do we do that? Well, bring those guys down. So a 1 a -1, and a -8. Now I'm going to go in ascending order. Ascending means you start from the low and go high, right? So -8 is going to be the low. Doesn't get an x, right? The next one, how many powers of x is this guy going to get? 1. So I'm going to put an x there. How many powers? Now go one bigger. How many powers is that going to be? Done. That's your quotient. Now look at the amount of space we took for this problem. Not that much. Now flip over the page we just did in the notes the other day. How much, not flip over in your notebook. Go to page 16. How much did we take for a problem in there? Yeah, it was quite a bit, right? It's the same process, just shorter. That's why they created synthetic division, because someone was like, there has to be a different way. There has to be a different way. Long division's great, but I don't want to have to do this for every single problem. There's got to be a different way, and there is. They created synthetic division. That's why I show it to you guys, right? I don't need fake grass in my backyard. I could have regular grass, but it saves me time, it saves me money, right? Just like you guys. You don't need to do this process, but it saves you time. It saves you time in doing these problems. Exactly. It saves time. Time is money. Saves all that good stuff, right? All right, so let's go step 2, example number 2. So the first thing is we got to decide who would be inside the house, who's the dividend, who's the divisor. Just like when you were doing it the other day. Exactly, right? This guy is the dividend. This guy is the divisor. Those are important because we need to know where they go. So this is the dividend. This guy is the divisor. Okay. So now what I need to do is find the 0 of the green guy. So how did we find the 0 on the last one? Set it equal to 0, right? That's what we're going to do. So it's going to be x minus 1 equals 0. Some of you can do this in your head. If you can't, just add 1 to both sides, and you figure out what the 0 is. It's going to be positive 1, yeah. It's going to be positive 1. That guy is going to go in the house. Positive 1 is going to go in the house. Step 2, coefficients. In order, tell me the numbers that are going to go there. So what's the first number that's going to go? 3, good. Next number? -11. 4. -2. Forgot something. What is it missing? What is the yellow guy missing? It goes from 4 to 3, the 2 to 1. I need the 0 term, right? So I need the placeholder at the end. So I need a 0 there because it needs a plus 0. It didn't have a plus 0. It needs to go in order from biggest to 0. It can't stop at 1. Okay? Those are the hard parts. Forgetting to do that, right? So is the hard part. Once you do that, it's just, now you're just doing. First guy, straight down. Always straight down. Oh, I forgot to put my plus here, my plus sign. Okay, so how do I get the next guy? Multiplication. What do I multiply? 3 times 1. What is 3 times 1? 3. Add. What do I get? -8. Multiply again. 1 times negative 8. Negative 8. Add straight down. Negative 4. Multiply. Negative 4 times 1. Negative 4. Add straight down. I get negative 6, right? Last one. Multiply. Negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. Add straight down. Negative 6. Done. Remember, the last number is always the remainder. The last number is always the remainder. So that's going to be my remainder.
Can we have to put in like an equation?
Now we got to put it back in order. Got to put all the x's back that I took out to begin with.
No, but the remainder.
Yeah, so let's not worry about the remainder right now. Let's start with this negative 6, right? So that negative 6 is just negative 6. It doesn't get any powers of x. 0 powers. Negative 4, how many powers does that get? 1. How many powers does negative 8 get? 2. How many powers does positive 3 get? 3. Now let's come back to the remainder. How did we write the remainder yesterday and on Monday? As a fraction, right? We said plus, you put the remainder on top, and then what did I put on bottom? Yeah, the green guy, right? The divisor. Done. Okay, done. All right, let's see here. So number 3 is a question, I'm not sure, we had a question almost identical to this on the last set of notes. What is the remainder when you divide by x plus 4? What is the remainder when you divide by x plus 2? Same question, almost the same question. But now we're going to do it using synthetic division. Okay, so first thing is, which one is the divisor? Which one is, don't worry about the f of x. Don't worry about the f of x. Doesn't affect the problem. Okay. All right, find the 0 of the divisor. What's the 0 of the divisor? Negative 2, right? It's going to be negative 2. How do I know it's going to be negative 2? Because you can set that guy equal to 0. X plus 2 equals 0. Minus 2 from both sides. Negative 2. The yellow guy. Am I going to need to put placeholders in for the yellow? Is it missing? It's missing quite a bit, right? Starts with the 5th guy, so 3, and then it goes straight to 2, right? So yeah, that's a problem. So now I got to put 3. How many zeros am I going to need in between? Yeah, because I'm going to need one for x to the 4th, and I'm going to need one for x to the 3rd. So I need 2 zeros in between, and then negative 1, right? And then I'm missing an x to the 1st, so I need another 0, and then negative 2. So remember those zeros. Okay. Drop the first guy down, put your plus sign, and you can get started. First guy always goes straight down. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. 0 plus negative 6 is negative 6. Negative 6 times negative 2 is positive 12. Positive 12 times negative 2 is negative 24. negative 25 when I add, multiply negative 25 times negative 2, positive 50, add straight down, positive 50 times negative 2, negative 100, add straight down, I get negative 102. All they want is the remainder for this guy. So I don't have to put the x's back. I just have to figure out what the remainder is. Well, in synthetic division, the remainder is always the last guy you added. The last guy you added is always the remainder. So what would I put in delta math? The only thing you're going to put in delta math is negative 102.
You don't put over the...
Yeah, you don't need to put the over, yeah. The only time you put the over is when they want actual an answer. So yeah, you don't need to put negative 102 over x plus 2. You don't need that. If they're just asking for the remainder, just the actual number. So you guys did that problem yesterday and on Monday using long division. You can do it using long division. If you choose to do this problem next week on the test using long division, great. I'm not going to take off any points. If you choose to use it using synthetic division, great. You should get the same answer because they function the same. Okay? All right, so last two. So the last three problems, 3, 4, and 5, are like the ones you will see on the test next week. These are the types of problems you're going to see for division. Okay? So it says, if f of x, again, don't worry about the f of x part. X cubed plus 17x squared plus 62x minus 80. Which of the following is not a factor of this guy? So what does it mean when it says a factor? We talked, I think, let me see, let me pull up the notes from last time. Remember we said 3 is a factor of 459, but 6 is not a factor of 373. We said a factor means no remainder. If I get no remainder, that means it's a factor. No remainder. So they want to know which of these guys is not a factor. So if it's not a factor, will I get a remainder or will I not get a remainder? So if I get 0 for my remainder, right? That means it's a factor, right? That's what that says. Is that what they want? Do they want factors? No. So let's go back. Let's go back to the ones we've done. 2 and 3. Look at number 2 and number 3. Are those factors? Is x minus 1 a factor? Is x plus 2 a factor of the yellow? No, it's not, right? It's not a factor. That's what they want. They want something other than 0. Something other than 0, right? If it said a factor, then they want 0. That's a factor. That's not what they want. So what they said is, some of these guys you'll get 0. We don't want those guys. Some of these guys you'll get a remainder of something.
What happens if you get those and you just put them?
So if we get 0, we just cross them out. It's not an answer. Okay?
So if we do this, we're just going to be doing like a process of elimination.
There you go. Yep. Process. So you could start with whichever one you want. You could start with the top one, second one, third one. You could start with however one you want. We're going to do synthetic division. Okay? So let's start with the first one. Right? This is my divisor.
Oh, wait, so we got to do all of them.
Not necessarily all of them. We just have to go until we get an answer. Hopefully we don't have to go to the end. Hopefully we can figure this out pretty quickly. Okay? All right, so I'm going to check this guy. So when I divide the green into the yellow, So first thing I got to do is put a,
Should be 1, right?
it's not going to be -1, it's going to be +1, yeah. Because it's a 0. Remember back, I think it was last chapter. Remember back last chapter when we said, this guy's a liar, this guy's a liar. That's why they're liars. That's why they're liars. Because it's not -1. The 0 is actually +1. That's why it was a liar. Okay? All right, so now the yellow. Are these guys in order? Do I need placeholders anywhere? Do I need placeholders anywhere for the yellow before I start writing numbers? No, right? 3, 2, 1, 0. 1x cubed, 17x squared, 62x, -80. There you go. Now I can start.
Let's do it.
First guy goes straight down. Then help me out. What do I do next? Multiply. Times. Yep. Multiply 1 times 1. I get a 1. Add straight down. 18. And then I got to multiply again, right? 18 times 1 is 18. Let's see. 62 plus 18 is 80. Multiply, I get +80.
Oh, and then just 0.
I get 0, right? Is that my answer?
No.
No, good job. No, sometimes people say, oh, I got a 0. Is that it? Not for this question, because we don't want a factor. We don't want one, right? Sometimes we do want a factor. Sometimes the problems you see tomorrow will say, is a factor. That's one we want. So this one, don't want it. Now, did that process take very long? No. So even if I have, worst case scenario, I have to go through all of them. Is it going to take that long? No.
No, you just go through
No.
all of them.
So let's do the next one. Right? It's not going to be -10, it's +10. So it's 1, 17, 62, -80. First guy comes down, multiply, 10 times 1, 10. Add straight down. 27 times 10 is 270. Add straight down, I get 2, 3, carry the 1, 332. So multiplying by 10 is not that bad because you're just adding a 0. So if you multiply 332 by 10, you're just adding a 0 to the end. 3,320, yeah. So I'm going to get so do I even have to do the math here? No, why not? Because is it going to be a 0 again? No, it's going to be a number, right? Your number you're going to get is 3,240? 3,240. That's the remainder. So is this one not a factor? It's not a factor. So this is our guy. So we're going to check this box. That's our guy. We don't even have to go to the next two because there's only one answer for these guys. Okay? All right. All right, one more, we're done. So this guy, this one now changes it. It says, hey, this is a factor. So x plus 1 is a factor. So that means we're going to have a remainder of 0. We know we're going to have a remainder of 0, right? We know we're going to have a remainder of 0. So if I divide the green into the yellow, I'm going to get a remainder of 0. That's what they said. Has to be true. Problem is, they don't give me all of the yellow. They're missing some of it.
Oh, so you gotta do this one.
I got to figure out, there's some placeholders we need, and I got to figure out what k is. K is a number. They just didn't write it. So I got to figure out what number that is. So I'm going to use division. What number is going to go in the box? -1. Good. -1. So what numbers am I going to put? Well, we start with x to the third. 1x to the third. Missing a term, right?
0.
So I need a 0. What's the next thing that's going to go here? Notice I said thing and not number. K, right? K, that's the guy that goes in front of x. That's the guy we need to figure out. So I'm going to put that in a different color. I'm going to say K. And then the last one is +9. Okay. Here's the thing. I already know what the answer at the end is going to be. What is this guy going to be? Has to be 0 because it's a factor. So I'm going to fill that part in right now. Since I already know that part of it, it's got to be 0. So work your way backwards. If that's a 0, what had to go above it? -9. It had to be a -9, right? Okay? So now let's start from the beginning. Multiply 1 times -1. -1. Add straight down. 0 plus -1. -1. Multiply again. Don't worry about the k. We'll figure that out later. -1 times -1 is +1, right? I don't know what k plus 1 is. But I know that this number times this number makes that guy. So what number has to go here? +9, right? +9 has to go here. Because when these two guys multiply, they have to make -9. Now, k plus 1 equals 9. What does k have to be? Has to be 8, yeah. Has to be 8. Done. Has to be, otherwise it won't work. If I took out the k and put an 8 there, it would work. Any other number would not work. Okay? All right, so we're going to do some practice tomorrow, like we always do, and then we'll go from there. All right, so tape that into page 17. And like I said, page 12 to 17 is this chapter. That's the chapter we're going to test on. Anything before that's not going to be on the test. You don't have to worry about that. 12 to 17.